Okay, so I've started the recording now. So meaning that those who were not able to join in this chat, at least can listen to it when we are done and whenever they can. So I'll share the audio records to the house after the group chat. So today, what I'll do is I'll first do um, okay, I'll just educate us on one particular subject, and then I'll throw in open the room for questions so that people that have any questions regarding Peugeot or any other Stellantis vehicles can ask or want to contribute. When it comes to Stellantis, I can only authoritatively respond to Peugeot and a little bit on Citroën, but for the other brands, kind of limited in terms of knowledge on those brands, so that anyone can ask or contribute on that. So even if you have questions on that, you can ask. Maybe another member may have a response to that, and we give you the response you need. So I'm going to start with a topic that I said I'll talk about, educate us on, and that is Peugeot charging system. Now, when it comes to charging system, a lot of people will say charging system is alternator, right? But it's not actually just alternator. It depends. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this charging system is because most of these modern Peugeot cars, their issues have to do with the charging system or the battery. People suffer a lot of electrical issues. Most times, it goes beyond the electrical, not knowing that what is causing these problems are their charging system. In this case, the alternator, and sometimes the battery. So I want to explain some of these things and how you can avoid or prevent or solve these issues when they come up, so that once you realize, you don't need to waste your time. Your issue is a charging system. You deal with it, because the norm is that is your car issue. If your vehicle, if you disconnect your battery while the engine is running and the car goes off, it means your alternator is dead. So it has always been the local, knowledge in Nigeria that that's how to tell if your charging system has a problem, but that is wrong. You can do that and your car will still be running, yet the charging system is faulty. So I want to talk about those things, and for you to know these are sometimes the cause of the issues you are having with your Peugeot cars, including the engine issues. Okay, so now what I mean by that charging system does not necessarily mean alternator is this. Before now, Peugeot cars had about two components that controls, or more like a party that consists the charging system of those vehicles. Those of us who are into classic Peugeot cars or the vintage ones, like the 404, 504, will understand this. Or probably those who use it in the past that have some basic knowledge will know. For example, in the 504, especially the first one, the N504, they have two components with regards to charging system. That is the alternator one. Then there's something we call cutout. So, in fact, I kind of like that system, because at that time, your alternator hardly fails. But what will usually fail will be the cutout, not the alternator. So once the cutout fails, your alternator will stop charging the vehicle. The entire, will no longer be able to generate power that will run the electronic and the rest of the vehicle, run the vehicle. So at that time, once it starts, you just go and deal with the cutout. It was much easier to diagnose. You don't even need a technician to tell you where your problem is coming from. The only thing that usually failed once in a while on the alternator then was the brush, the two brushes that points into the alternator that now sends, in fact, that's the connection between the alternator and the cutters. So those two components consist of the charging system in the 504 at that time. I think later on, when the phase 2 came up, and then the 505, so they now introduce a charging system or alternator that now has that the cutout is integrated inside the alternator, so they are no longer separate units, so they became one. And also, before even the 504, like the 403 and the 404, at least the early 404, what they had that time was not alternator. So what they had was generator, different from alternator. What I mean generator, I'm not talking about the normal generators you have in your houses or powers your house or you put fuel to start. No, it's different. At that time, there were also other brand of cars that you were using that system. So 404 had that generator, 403 had it. But I think towards the end, maybe the later 404 now had alternator. I can't confirm that, but at least I know 404. Back then, I know I was that observant. They had generator, not alternator. Okay, so I just wanted to put it out here. So, but in this video, my focus is on the alternator because those are the ones that basically almost everyone now has in his or her Peugeot vehicle. If people that have 403, even 403 most likely have converted their generator to alternator because the generator, I'm not sure you can be able to find it anymore. So it's easier to have it converted to alternator so that you can be able to maintain or keep the car running when the alternator fails. Okay, so I'm going to focus on the one that deals with, primarily an average user of Peugeot car in Nigeria. Not over the world, not Nigeria, right? Because I know a lot of members here are not Nigerians among that would likely join. Okay, so that is it. Now you understand the differences of the charging system in Peugeot vehicles, even back then. Okay, so what kind of issues do people experience that are being caused by a charging system? Or okay, let me just link it to alternator that are being caused by weak or failing alternator that they do not know about. A lot of people will complain that every once in a while, depending on the modern Peugeot vehicle, that their ABS system will be acting up. That you change this, change that, and only for it to, keep giving you the same ABS symptoms. So your alternator can be the cause. I've diagnosed quite a lot of Peugeot vehicles, most especially, listen to me, most especially 307, 407. The alternators are usually the cause of some of the issues with their ABS. Yes. In fact, there are few 307 Peugeot 307 that are diagnosed when the alternator start failing. Sometimes they fail in an awkward way. In other words, as you're accelerating the vehicle, it starts overcharging. Instead of it to give you 14 volts, as you accelerate, it goes up to 18 volts. So once it starts getting close to 17 volts, it will trigger ABS fault. So these are the symptoms that people don't know, and they will keep changing their ABS sensors, ABS lock or ABS pump, and issue remains. 407 the same. Sometimes, all of a sudden, even your steering, the 4-cylinder that uses the electric steering, they start acting up, and not knowing that the charging system of the alternator is the cause. I will explain how the alternator affects that of the 407 when it gets to there's a particular point where I will explain it so I will know how it does it on the 407, especially the ones with electric power steering pump. So likewise, APS and the rest. And also there are cases where, okay, let me go back to the area, the older Peugeot cars. For example, you decide to install AC because most of them at that time didn't come with AC. But basically, by standard, they didn't have AC. Only very few, talking about 504, 505. So very few had at that time. So you install AC, you may start running it, and it was what, like I said, Nigerians have this understanding that once you disconnect the battery terminal with the engine running and the engine doesn't go off, it means the alternator is charging well. So they will do all those things. Only to later find out that 2 days later the battery will drain. And they keep going back and forth. They may go and buy another alternator, thinking it's the alternator, or buy another battery, thinking it's the battery. Same issue. 2 days later, or even a day, or sometimes it takes about 3 days. The battery will drain and won't be able to crank the engine. Now, moving forward, something affects the modern Peugeot cars. Sometimes it's not like maybe you introduce an electronic system to the vehicle. Maybe it's the one that came with the car that you're still using. But you realize that every 2-3 days, the next morning you realize the engine will refuse to crank. And you probably might assume that it's your battery. You go and buy another battery. 2-3 days later, same issue will happen. You probably will think, oh, something is draining your battery. Something inside the vehicle, one of the electronics is draining your battery. You keep going here. Sometimes they will even recommend changing the alternator for you. You change the alternator, pay attention. You change the alternator, change the battery, or you charge the battery else. So I put it 2-3 days later, same issue. So okay, so these are some of the issues. The internet here is not that great, so I'll pay attention as soon as it goes off. I'll wait till I come back online. So these are some of the issues people experience. Replacing every part here and there, trying to sort out the what they believe could be the cause of battery drainage and the rest. So, and so many other symptoms that alternator can actually give when they're about to fail. However, it's not always when the alternators are about to fail that they give these symptoms. Instead, when you mount a wrong alternator in your vehicle, most people that experience these things are when they mount wrong alternators, not when the alternators are actually failing. The reason why I was trying to explain that that sometimes you may change alternator and the issue continues is people changing alternator will keep putting the wrong alternators, expecting the vehicle to behave differently from what it was doing before. And why did they do this thing? Because they assume that EW10J4 alternator is EW10J4 alternator. When people go to market to buy alternator, what they will say, oh, what's the sellers will ask you, what's your alternator? No, what's your engine model, right? You will tell them, oh, it's EW10, which in this case I'm referring to EW10J4 engine. The 2.0 petrol engine in 407 and the rest. But let's assume you have a 407 or 406 with that engine, and you tell them you have this EW10J4. They'll bring an alternator and give you, right? Or probably you'll be there and they'll remove the alternator. So I'm referring to used alternator. So they will pull out the alternator and give you. I think there's no point to put on the video if you don't want to waste your airtime, your internet data, unless you want to choose something. Anyway, so later I'll allow anybody that wants to ask questions. But for now, I'm going to talk about what I'm explaining. So now look at it this way. Just because Alternator on EW10J4, in other words, just because they remove an alternator from EW10J4 engine does not mean that alternator has enough capacity to power the EW10J4 engine in your own vehicle. Alternator, see, when Peugeot produce these cars, alternators, they have capacity 40, 50, 80, 120, 150, 180 amps. So the alternator they are putting on a 406 with EW10J4 engine is based on the vehicle, not on the engine. So this is where people make that mistake and end up buying the wrong alternator. It's the vehicle, not the engine. So if they are bringing out alternator or they are giving you alternator because according to them it was a move for EW10J4 engine, it may not be able to power your vehicle, even though your vehicle actually has. So, like I said, most times it's not because the alternator is not powering your car. It's because what you mounted is a wrong alternator. Now, how does it affect when you mount wrong alternator with wrong capacity? Okay, how do you say wrong alternator or alternator capacity is not good enough for the vehicle? You mount it, start the vehicle, disconnect the battery, the engine running, and the switch charging. So you solve the problem, right? Just because if it didn't go off does not mean that when you power your headlight, power your AC, and drive it for 30 minutes, it will remain running. See, the reason why there is differences on the capacity is because the vehicle electronics differ from each vehicle. So 50 amps or 80 amps alternator may be able to power 406 with 2.0 liter petrol engine. But when you mount it in 407, it won't be able to run it. You may run the engine without any gadget running. As soon as you start putting on most gadgets on the vehicle that suck a lot of power, electrical power. Time the alternator, what will now happen is the charging will start dropping gradually, not instantly. It will start dropping. So that's why most people, when this thing usually happens is when you drive at night, maybe you go for a walk night, you drive more. By the time you get home, you switch off the car, the next morning you won't be able to find the engine. However, during the daytime, because most of the gadgets are on, the headlight is off, feel some of your gadgets are not running. So at that time, you may be able to drive the car for an hour or so, and you still be able to hold the charge. I'm talking about the battery now because the alternator can still send some charge the battery a little. But by the time you want, the headlight sucks more power than even the AC. That's what most things, some of people don't understand. Your headlight, it's like that main. It sucks a lot of power from the alternator. Except though these days they put all these meters come with what we call xenon headlight, LED and stuff like that. So kind of to say, well, those ones they don't consume power as much as those area halogen lights and the rest. So they saw a lot of power. So those things will tell on the charging system that doesn't have enough capacity for that bed. So what will that happen is after a while they'll start throwing up some of these faults. check engine light. Even your engine ECU won't be able to spot. Remember, some components on the engine actually get power supply from the engine ECU, not necessarily the fuse box. So if the engine ECU is supposed to power mountain, so send it 5 volts, and now the charging system is no longer sending enough current to keep the battery charging. What you do, you reduce the voltage that goes to the offset. So what will happen? The motor sensor will no longer work well, and then the consumption goes high. Black smoke may follow, check engine light, the pollution for so many things. So that's why I say sometimes people experience some of these issues, not knowing the alternator is the cause. They keep changing sensors here and there. So alternator, then you mount the wrong one to cause this, you know. Okay, so how do you or what is now the right alternator for your vehicle? I don't have mental list of all the alternators and their capacities in Peugeot vehicles. I don't have that, but at least I know. For example, 216 with 1.4 liter engine, that is TLC engine, and even 206 with 5 JP4 engine. 70 amps, or they have about 70 amps. Their capacity, they have about 70 amps. Why the one, what is it called? 307 with that same engine, TU5JP4, has about 90 amps. You understand? So if you go and take buy an engine, buy the alternator for an engine, which was removed from 206 and put it in 207, you are going to have this problem. Even though they all look the same. So you can't tell from the appearance, okay, this actually from this car. No, they all look the same. But they don't actually match. So how you could tell is to know, first of all, know what is the capacity of alternator that is meant for your vehicle. Your vehicle, not your engine, your vehicle. Because your vehicle, everything has been put in place and say, okay, this is your vehicle. Your vehicle has this engine, gearbox, this, that, radio, display, all this and that. And they now put it. So what you're looking for, your own vehicle, not your engine. Because even for 7 can have 2.0 liter engine and has a lower capacity alternator than another one may have a lower capacity because the gadget on that one is not that high. Maybe just 1 or 2. So they will reduce it. So you go and take alternator on that one and put. You don't take that one. So always look at your own vehicle, what's the capacity when you are buying. But now how do you identify the capacity of the alternator? You can, it's not just about the capacity. In fact, how do you identify the alternator of your vehicle if you want to change it? First thing you do is have to go online. Let's assume your engine doesn't give room to access the alternator. There's no more space for you to look at it because each and every alternator have a speaker on it. However, what usually happens is sometimes the speaker will peel up, so you won't be able to the 2 things then. The part number, the manufacturer's part number. I'm not talking about the Peugeot part number. The manufacturer's part number, and then 2, the alternator capacity. These 2 things will be written on the sticker at the back or on top of the alternator. So that will help and guide you to know, is this alternator for your vehicle? Like I said, it's not about your engine. So if you can't access it because of maybe an engine, like EW engine, you can actually see it, yes, you can. The sticker is actually at the back, and the ease of it engine, the alternator is a little bit easier to access than other engines. the older vehicle Peugeot cars like the SM7 engines, the alternator is so much easy to access. You can see everything. In fact, it's even that's the only component on top of it. So you can see you don't even need to pick or bend down to check. You know. So now what do you do? If you can find that number, maybe you need to confirm to be sure if you can even work. If you can get the number, then you go online. Go online, put that van part number. Most of the alternator you find in Peugeot cars are either value or Bosch. This there could be other brand, but mostly value. So you just copy. I'm going to show you later how to identify a value part number or Bosch part number. So you go online and put that value. Once you put it, you see a list of vehicles that particular alternator was produced for. So from there, you know, okay, if E10 is there and that, you would understand. Then the capacity will also be there. See, some of this you can actually go, look at this to access what's it called? Peugeot database, that's service bus, you have to pay. Otherwise, if you go there, it's there, you see the capacity. You will see the manufacturer's part number, then you see the capacity of the alternator your car was produced with from brand new. You know. However, you can still go online. But the reason why I'm pointing out that part number, the value part number or part number, once you put it online, you will see it may not be only Peugeot that alternator was made for by value, you know, but you will see various cars that they made the alternator for, including the engine, not just the vehicle model. So that will now give you an idea, you know. Then what will now also happen is like if you enter sites like eBay, you will start seeing some used alternators that are being sold. Once you put that value partner, you will find out that it will now there you'll be seeing, okay, the seller put this part number for so and so vehicle with this engine. So that will be able to guide you, okay. Some of the alternators you found online for sale we are indicated that this alternator, this part number is meant for your car or not meant for your car with your engine. Likewise, the capacity. Now, there are other ways you can actually find out. And how? Get your digital multimeter. You know, I've always said you need digital multimeter. See, it doesn't matter whether you're a technician or not, or you want to mess with, what's it called? You want to mess with spanner or this thing, you know, or you don't know how to. You need that digital. As well as you use, even people that use older Peugeot cars, people like us, you know, still we have this digital multimeter. Upon that, these other cars, I mean, they basically don't have electronics in these cars, or you don't even need any electrical work, they say. However, you need it. Not to think of modern cars that are electrically controlled. So you need it because some of these things we have to guide you. And how this tech is wicked. Go right now, today, tomorrow, so you go whenever you can, try whatever you can today, tomorrow, or whenever. Get your multimeter, then test it now. Test the capacity. Test your alternator. I will show you how to do that. Test your alternator now that it's working. Once you get certain figures that I'm going to show you, just assume that even if the current alternator on your car, on that engine, is not actually the one Peugeot meant to be there, but at least it's okay. You see, alternator doesn't necessarily mean, oh, you must be exactly that part number. No. It's all about the capacity and whether it will match. So once you confirm that with all these loads on the vehicle, that you can be able, the vehicle, the alternator still maintain the expected charge on the battery, still charges the battery perfectly well. So all you need to know, find out the capacity of that alternator, so that even if that one fails, you know that, okay, you can still use the part number on the current alternator and look for another one. Even if you couldn't find it online, whether it matches your vehicle, or maybe your own engine, the alternator is no longer available, your own vehicle, the alternator is no longer available at all. At least you can be able to say, okay, 70 amps, 80 amps, 120 amps runs or powers your car very well. Remember, it's not only your engine your alternator power, so it powers your car very well. So if it fails again, I'll simply go and look for another 80 or 90 amps or whatever of that current alternator. Look for one that will match, whether even if it's not the exact one on the engine now. So the best time to confirm is now that your alternator is working well. And how do you confirm? Put on all your gadgets. Like I said, just because you start your car, you remove the battery, it's still running, you put it back, you say your alternator. No, it's not. So confirm now that it's working well. From there, you now work with the current capacity of your alternator to know how to search for another one. Okay, I'm going to go in now. I will leave. Let me see. Hold on. So I will show you guys. I will share my screen so that I can see some of the part numbers, and then how to identify the capacity on the alternators, how they are written, so I know, okay, this means this means the other. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to so this is for those of us who use the 504, 505, this one of the alternators you will find. Now, if you look closely here, I hope this is showing on your screen. Now, the part number, you can see this alternator is made by value. Now, the part number here is it's not the one on the sticker. Actually, this one at the back of this plastic attached at the back of where that has YV1925. That is the part number, YV1925. If you go online, just if you click, type in this number value YV1925, it's going to show you the alternator and probably list out the vehicles that the manufacturers, not Peugeot, the value, the vehicles that value produce this alternator for. So now, how do you know the capacity? The capacity here, you can see where it's written 12V. Then on the other side, you now see 50A. So that A stands for amps. So the capacity of this alternator is 50 amps. Now 504, you find like 504 had 35 amps, 40 amps. All these ones can run without AC. But if you want to upgrade, if you want to install AC on a 504 or a 505, you have to go beyond 40 amps. At least minimum of 50 amps. Minimum. That is for carburetor engine. 504, 505 carburetor engine. So if you go beyond this, if you maintain your 35 or 40 amps alternator, you're going to have issue with your charging system. You won't be able to charge your battery once you increase add this load. So the minimum you can go is 40 amps. Then for the fuel injected ones in 504 or 505, you have to, especially the electronic fuel injection. The minimum you can go is 70. So you see the one they're written 78. So it means that one can be able to run your injection system with the vehicle, power it without going below 14 volts. Okay, so now let's go to the modern this thing. Hold on. Okay, so this alternator now is you can see the number here. The value part number is 9645865180. So if you want to find out what this alternator, the cars these alternators were produced for by value, this is the number you pick. Just pick that value, type the value, then the 96, you type the rest of the number. Immediately you show you all the vehicles that with the engine this this alternator was made for. Now, how do you know the capacity here? Now, if you look at this sticker, you will see that you won't be able to, you won't see A, just like it's written on the older alternators for older Peugeot cars. So how to identify the capacity on a modern Peugeot car or the capacity of alternator is you will see something like CL. Once you see that CL, the next figure that follows it is the capacity of the alternator. So in this case, you see CL15. So this 15 means 150. So it means 150 amp. This alternator now, that you are going online to check, this alternator is meant specifically, not specifically, but for Peugeot cars. This part number is meant for Peugeot 407 V6 petrol. Remember, it's not the V6 engine, but the Peugeot 407 with V6 petrol engine. That is, okay, the engine model in 407, the engine model name of V6 engine in 407 is ES98. However, there are a lot of ES9A engines that have different capacity alternator. So if you go to 407 V6 engine, if you go to that ES9A engine and pull any alternator you see there with assumption that it's going to power your 407 V6 very well, you are wrong. For example, you could see the capacity on this one. It says CL5. There are some ES9A engine that has CL12. Now, what does that 12 mean? CL120 amps. So if you put the 120 amps on the 407 V6, it won't power it very well. If you start your car, it will run the engine. If you put on the headlight, put on the AC, the battery will go off. It will drain. What will happen if you don't drive, after like 30 minutes, you start your car, want to start it again, you won't start. So that's why I say these two things matter. However, once you put this part number, once you see any what's it called, any alternator that has exactly this part number, value 9645865180, expect that the capacity will be 150 amps. So what you will see under it will be CL15. It could be written differently. The arrangement of these figures might differ. As long as it's this part number, it must be CL15. Most people make mistake of taking alternator from ES9J4S. In other words, the V6 engine in like 406 or 607 phase 1 or 807 and all that, they assume that it's V6 is V6 because it's the same size, the same design, no difference. The only thing that differs on them is the part number on this ticket. On the 406 V6, so what you see here is CL12, which means 120. The 406 V6 petrol ESIJ4S is 120 amps, while the 406 is 150. Because the 407 has more electronics So it requires more higher capacity alternative to be able to run it. So these are the ways you can be able to. So there are two other alternatives here. I don't know. Like this one. This alternator was actually removed from um, a 206 with EU5 JP4 engine. That's that 1.6 liter engine. But I'm not so sure this is the factory alternator. Maybe it failed at some point. They bought it, but they bought they wanted what's it called? The actual capacity. So it was made by a different brand, but it doesn't mean that the brand put a bit lower capacity. So the brand still maintain the brand they put still maintain the capacity that will be able to power 206 with this engine. So you could see CL7. So that 7 stands for 70 amps. But if you go to 307, you will not see they are the same engine, but the capacity will differ. So there's so many. Okay, like this other one. I forgot the engine. This one anyway, but you can see the capacity CLA. So they put plus there, so it means 80 amps. So what I mean, you need to find out how does your car, your alternator in your car handles the power or powers your vehicle. If it powers it very well now, at least you can now hold on, even if you can't find the exact part number or you are not sure the current one there, the part number there is the memory, at least you can always use the capacity of the current one that is working well. Next time to look for one, make sure that you don't get one with lesser capacity so that you won't have all the issues people that buy lower capacity of motor are having. But you need I need to show you guys here. You need to be very careful when you are buying a motor that is not meant for or was actually produced for your engine. You can see the alternator pulley, this particular pulley now. So sometimes they differ from short. So if you go and cut your zero belt, which because if you enter and damage your timing, you shift your timing belt and then your valves will break and the rest. So you have to, let's assume your alternator, you be able to get the exact part number, maybe from the current one or elsewhere, and you couldn't find it, you couldn't find it. What best thing you could do is try another one, maybe different number that has the same capacity. Now put the two alternators side by side and confirm that the shape that the pulley didn't go out too much or go in too much from the current one, so that it doesn't affect your auxiliary belt. By auxiliary belt, I'm talking about the one Nigerians call alternator belt. Because when you make this mistake, it may end up damaging your engine. A lot of people are having, in fact, most people are having this issue. They probably don't know. Every now and then, the alternator, the auxiliary belt is cutting. Every now they put back another one, 2 days later, it's cut again. They keep wondering, but they've changed this, they've changed the tensioner, changed the rollers. Still, the belt is constantly cutting or pulling out, or confirm that the alternator is even the right one there. I'm not saying the right part number, but at least it's the right one that is supposed to be there, even if it's not the one the engine was produced or made for. Put one that the pulley is way off from the where it's supposed to be. It will allow the auxiliary belt to sit properly or to be aligned with the other pulleys that it rolls with. So once you push the RPM too high, thereabout, it pushes it off or to cut or something like that. So if you can, just look for that exact part number. I've found for my clients, I will be able to be getting the exact part number for the alternator, even without removing the alternators. First thing I'll find out the exact part number for their vehicles. Then from there, you can now remove the alternator and now look for it. So I don't, so that as you are bringing need because plug and play. But notwithstanding, this is why I'm saying that those are some that use all these older cars, have older Peugeot cars, are into classic cars. Most I don't have that luxury to get the exact alternator because mostly they are extinct or are not no longer available. So you have to find something that matches. Sometimes it could be like you want to put AC in your car and you just look for another brand, or maybe from a different brand of vehicle completely that will match the position of the alternator with that has higher capacity than the one the car was produced with, since the car didn't have AC from you. So in that case, all you need to do, find out, you do some consumption, confirm that it aligns, the pulley will be able to work with your auxiliary belt, very well. So I just wanted to point this out so I don't mistakenly go and damage your engine trying to put any type of alternator there. Okay, now how do you know if your current alternator on your car is okay or good for your vehicle? Now, let's start with this. This is a digital multimeter I talked about. You need to start your vehicle. Or I think the first thing to do is get this thing. If you don't have it, you just have to. I've done videos, articles on this, so I don't want to dwell on it on this video. You need this. Get your digital multimeter, put it on, start your vehicle. You don't need to put on your AC and that this time. Just switch off the gadgets, just leave the engine running at idle. Plug in the alternator, the multimeter on your battery terminals. Because once you start the car, at that time the alternator is now running the vehicle, not your battery. Your battery is just there to pound the engine. So as the alternator is just supplying power to various distance, even though it's supplying to batteries also. So it's spreading the voltage. So start your vehicle, plug in this. If you get this 14.30, 14.40 something, 14, with the AC off, it means yes, the alternator is charging and also powering your vehicles with the right amount of voltage. Then the last one you now do, which most people don't do, and end up having to some of the problems I explained in the beginning of this chat, is this. Let me go for it. Now this one. So you can see this is a different value from the multimeter. So what happened here was a different test was conducted. Yes, engine was running. Now the AC was switched on. Of course, the cooling system fan came up. The AC blower came up. Then what's it called? The wiper motor too was switched on. So all those heavy electronic gadgets were powered, and then this was tested. So you could see the power dropped a little, but even at that, it still maintained above 14 volts. And this was left on. I left it on for about 30 minutes. It did not go beyond this. So once you could confirm this test, all I can tell you is, even if you can't be able to get your exact part number alternator for that vehicle, all you need is hold on to the capacity of the current alternator in that car. That's all you need. So if you see CL15 there, it means look for CL15 that will match. You can't get the other part number. As long as the design will match that place with the pulley, everything. So this last test is what people don't do. They will buy alternator and mount. 2 days later, ABS issue will come up. Before you know it, power steering will stop working or start giving you a so because once the charge start going below, because what usually happens is you put alternator that has a lower capacity. Let's assume you put CL12 on a 407 V6, which is supposed to CL15, that's 150 versus 120. If you start the car, it will start. But what will happen is it will be reading maximum maybe 14 volts, 14.01 volts. If at all it will get to that point without AC or other things. Immediately you put on AC, put on wiper, put on headlight, what will now happen is it will drop up to about 13.5 volts, 13.4 volts, 13.42 volts. If you leave it on, you will see, just leave it, you'll be watching. What will happen is After like 30 minutes, it keeps going down to the point you get about 12.7 volts. Once you get to about 12.5 volts, your alternator is no longer working. At that time, the battery will not start running the car. Sometimes if you accelerate the car, it will increase. So you may drive the car for like 1 hour, it won't go up. But then the alternator and the battery are intermittently charging, powering the car. So by the time you switch it off, maybe at night, the next morning, the battery won't be able to find it because it has been used up, even though it didn't go up before you switch off the car. So you need to do these things. That will tell you exactly how, number one, how good your alternator is, and secondly, if the alternator, the capacity is good enough for the vehicle. Remember, not your engine. Engine can be a different capacity on a smaller car with your engine, on a bigger car with your engine. It's about the vehicle, the capacity, and all that. So I think I'm done with this discussion. So I think I'm done. Okay, so I'm going to open up to this. Anybody that wants to ask questions that has to do with Peugeot, it doesn't matter. It mustn't be.
Welcome to you. Valid product.
Mustn't be about Bluetooth. Just any question you have, you can throw the answers. If I have the answer, I will respond. Okay. If you want to ask question, all you need to do is you press your mute button. Press your mute button so that I will give you the floor. So that from here I will know if there are no other questions, then I move on. So anybody has anything to say?
Okay, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
My question is that concerning this my the remote operator. So I wire to try to let some feedback and but it keeps happening regularly. When I lock the car,
only lock the driver's door. Yes. So I have that issue for like now.
Let me understand. Let me understand. What vehicle is it? Let's start from there. What's the vehicle model? 307.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said when you use your remote control, what happens?
Yeah, it usually don't work at all.
Okay, the remote control it doesn't work.
Yes.
Okay, so that's that.
So they repair it back.
It was working
initially and it stopped again.
But when
so right now it's not working.
I use key to lock the car.
It only locks
the remote or the manual lock?
Only locks the
manual lock.
Let me understand. The manual lock.
Yes.
You only
lock the driver.
But when the remote, is it working now?
The remote is not working.
Currently because I have to switch it again. They will just take some tools and it will start working again.
When it was working, let me understand. When it was working, how does it operate? Does it lock the entire door when you use it?
Yes, it locks the entire.
So, from what you've described, the symptom you described, your driver's door lock mechanism appears to have a problem. The mechanism is what they call door catcher. So, because that's actually the master door lock, so he has a problem. The electronic one, because that one will go straight to the BSI, so BSI will operate. So when you insert manually, so the BSI doesn't communicate with that lock mechanism. Have you been in your car is 406? I would have suggested, okay, go to the other side. First is the two front doors have those lock mechanisms. You can manually lock the doors from there. So and for 307, they have only one on the driver's side. Am I correct? So the issue is, from what you described, the SI unit, because that's what controls the doors. So it's not getting that trigger from the driver's door lock mechanism. Or in other words, just use that word because they won't understand what you tell. Driver's door cashier. The easiest way for you to have known this thing is if you put PP2000. You get the post you get to. It will tell you to monitor the doors. As you are opening and closing, it will tell you the one that is not accessing, that the BSI unit is not accessing. So immediately you put it, once you get there, the parameter, depending on the version of PP2000, you will see that one of them is showing open even though it's closed, or is showing closed even though it's open. That's when we have to tell which of the door lock mechanism that is faulty. So but from what you described, it's very obvious, at least from what I heard from you, that your driver's door lock mechanism or door catcher is faulty. Something is wrong, or the BSI. It could even be the BSI, not even the door. I've had 407 that had this issue. Eventually, was the BSI. For some reasons, it refused to communicate with that master door lock mechanism. He controls the entire door manually. So when you press the remote control is more like an area thing. So it will just trigger the BSI to lock the entire. So I would suggest, depending if you have access, the best thing just get PP2000. However, if you have access to, if you have a technician or part seller, there are ways you can actually troubleshoot this thing without spending a dime. People that give me cars to troubleshoot or repair, they will tell you this. You can manually troubleshoot a car they will give you that lock mechanism, another one. You don't have to pay. All you need is someone you have understanding with. They give you another one, you swap it, and then you test it. Worst case, they will give you like two. You don't need to. All you need to do is remove the door card. The door card is not what they call door panel here. You remove the door card, leave it open, put another, remove the current lock mechanism, put another one, try it manually. It doesn't want to put the second one. I can't see how the two of them will be faulty at the same time. Unless it's giving you a Nigerian, most foreign users, they come in their so that will be able to tell you. Yeah, so it means the problem now is most likely either the connection, the wiring connection between the lock mechanism and BSI unit, or the BSI unit itself. But like I said, you need PP2000 on this. It will be able to tell you that you can start with this, that's pending in cover. And so that if it works, this is this is your problem. You deal with it right there. If it doesn't work, then okay, I have somebody I can refer you to. Maybe later. I'll deal with that. Send me a message on my own private Telegram page. So I would attach that number to you. However, I usually attach disclaimer too, because I don't take responsibility. Whatever happens between people that request for this kind of thing with the person that they want to have. So I have someone in Kaduna. Yeah.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time.
So, okay. Yeah. I have this question I want to talk about. While I'm waiting for more questions. Okay, let me share the screen. Done. Someone posted a question in the Telegram So I want to respond to that. Okay, so it reads, I own Peugeot 406 EW10 engine, Nigeria assembly, though I can't really say the year because I'm yet to see where it is written on the body of the vehicle. I bought the car from someone since 2020 and it has not given me any issues that cause for concern until last week. I noticed that the fuel consumption is higher than the usual. So I discovered somewhere in the exhaust was leaking, which I took to a panel beater who eventually dropped the whole exhaust. I wasn't there when he dropped the exhaust, but when I came back, he told me that my car does not have catalytic converter, popularly known as Indomie. Though everyone there claims Nigerian assembly Peugeot 406 does not come with a catalytic converter, which I'm yet to believe. Please help me confirm that their claim is true or false because it's very expensive. If they are lying, please help. Okay. Let's start with the first paragraph. He said he don't know the year of the car because he didn't see, he's not seen it where it's written on the body of the vehicle. See, Peugeot is not Japanese. I know people always look out for this kind of thing. Peugeot, the production year is indicated differently from the other brand of vehicles. For Peugeot cars, they indicate it on the cars, on the windows and the rear glass. By rear glass, I'm talking about, what we call, popularly known as the rear or back windscreen, not the front one. So the entire windows and the door, you see it within there. I know I've done videos on this or something. They usually indicate it by figures. There's maybe I'll do a video separate on this, so I won't waste time talking about it. But I've done it. I've done that video, not the one that was. Then when he said that they removed the catalytic converter, he said that he told me that the car does not have catalytic converter, that everyone is saying, that everyone claimed that Nigeria assembly does not come with. Anyway, people tell you that they don't know anything. Peugeot 406 produced in Nigeria by PAN, they all had catalytic converter. Peugeot 406 with EW10J4 engine, produced by PAN, assembled by PAN, however I want to call it. In Nigeria, they all have catalytic converters. So let it register. The only thing I will say here is they have, but don't necessarily, the engine ECU don't necessarily work with it. The engine ECU in Peugeot 406 produced in Nigeria with EW10J4, that ECU does not necessarily work with the catalytic converter. Whether it's there or not, it's doing its work. It doesn't have downstream sensor and device. So, but what will not affect the vehicle injection system is when you go and mess up with the upstream oxygen sensor attached before the catalytic converter. Or on it, whichever, but I think before it's not on the catalytic converter for that vehicle. So the oxygen sensor there is what you have to confirm if it's working. Now for 406 with that engine, that is if at all truly your own is planned for production, because most people claim that eventually they are not. I know a lot of people that bought 406 and claim their own is planned. When they bought it to me, I showed them before them that no, it's actually planned. So I identify planned for the consumption 406 produced by PAN with EW10J4 engine is the oxygen sensor, the upstream. Once they are bad, it messes up that particular ECU, unlike the other 406 with EW10J4 engine produced outside Nigeria. The one in Nigeria produced in Nigeria, that is once it fails, the other sense of fails. First thing is black soot. Not just more soot, you just be puffing out, the power will drop, misfire, not rough idle, not necessarily misfire, it will be rough idling. So I don't know if you are getting up to that symptom, that kind of symptom. So it's very easy to tell if it's EWT engine for engine, part assembly, even without scanning it. Once I see that kind of symptom, that's the first place to look at. Not necessarily I'll change it, but I'll first check, is it even connected or this and that? Is the wiring connection messed up? Look at it. Then, of course, if the engine wiring harness is also abused, cut and join here and there, it will mess with the car up. So, I think in your case, just go and scan the vehicle. Let's know what's causing it. It may not be the other sensor in this case, because there are other sensors that works with the injection system. Or part of the injection system that controls the fueling of that car. So, but for the fact that the claim that someone is claiming the car, such cars don't come with catalytic converter. All I could say is probably these are people that steal people's catalytic converter, so they're just giving you excuse, or they're just clueless. Don't know. So that's all. Okay, don't think I have any other question to respond to. If anybody has, can ask, so I can end this chat and go about other details. Okay, I think that's all for it today. So, like I said, for the alternators, get your digital multimeter. Get your digital multimeter. Most of the issues are caused by these alternators, not just the battery. So you'll be surprised, that you've been wasting a lot of money. So have it confirm it yourself, then you know how to go about it. Okay, so that's all for this chat, and hopefully, I don't know. For now, I can't be able to say I'll be doing it so day, so